still building our dream, perfect, money is no object homestead, right? So in episode 1, we got our land. Perfect land. We love our land. In episode 2, we sorted out our water needs and have backups to our backups and added a backup. So we've got our water situation sorted. We have a plan for what we want there. But this is episode 3. So we're going to need to sort out a power plan and our planned heating. I mean, that's all going together. So this is going to be the plan. Now remember, after all of these episodes, after all of these plans, it goes to our fantasy dream contractors and it's all built for us. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful dream. So let's talk about the overall strategy, okay? Now, each building on our homestead will have its own off-grid solar and battery system. It won't be one big shared system. Let me explain. If a storm comes, if it's straight line winds, if it's a tornado, if it's a lightning strike, if it's anything, think of all the things, and something is damaged, it might just be just that one part is damaged. So all of your homestead, all of your acreage, all of your things is not affected. It's just that one thing that needs to be repaired. If we have it all as just one giant tied-in system, guess what? If it's damaged, damaged. So we want each part, I forgot to put it on Do Not Disturb. It's okay. We want each building and each section to have its own system, its own complete system, because money's no object. We don't care, right? Now, all of our systems, and this is just the solar part, okay, they're going to have the monocrystalline solar panels. Now, I personally would option in for the bifacial because then you've got the gleam of the ground coming up, hitting the back side of that and still creating power when it needs to. So basically underneath those, I would do it on concrete, like embedded everything, and maybe put white gravel on that because that would totally glare up onto the back side of that. Absolutely perfect. It would have the lithium iron phosphate battery system, just like our water did. Long life, it's safe. You've really reduced your fire hazard. Each building would have a dedicated inverter and charger with a combiner, and it would disconnect together as one. Hi, Adriel. We would have tornado-resistant battery storage. So the batteries would be reinforced. They would be in code-engineered enclosures, okay? Ideally below grade, inside storm-rated rooms. So you could have a safe room underneath each building, and that would be ventilated, and that would be fine, and that could be where it goes. And I'll explain kind of how that's going to need to be. Hi, Valhalla. It shouldn't be. It should have my icon up there. I'm so sorry if it doesn't. Holy crap. Let's see. Does it now? Does it have my icon up there now? I kind of have to have it that way right now. Thank you, Adriel. So, let me get back. Okay. So that tornado-resistant power storage, this is going to be kind of a template for all of my buildings. Remember, money's no object. So never ever think that's too expensive. It's not. Because we're Scrooge McDuck rich here, okay? So for every building, I'm going to have a repeated pattern. There's going to be a battery vault. Oh, there's going to be a battery vault. Now, I would put it below the grade in a concrete room, either under the building, ventilated, or near the building with a short cable run. And like I said, the interior room, it's storm rated. So I mean, if you're going to put your kids into a tornado shelter room in your basement, you can put your batteries there. You're okay. You're going to want it to be reinforced concrete, anchored to the foundation, steel door, storm rated hardware, ventilation for the batteries, the whole nine. And remember, a lot of what we're building is in ICF. So, I mean, it's all going to be pretty darn storm rated. We're going to want our batteries on racks, an inverter charger combiner. It's going to disconnect on the wall. We're going to have surge protection, grounding, and we're going to have a clear workspace. Okay, this is not going to be jammed into a closet. I have a clear workspace here. So, but that's going to be a basic thing for all of the buildings. They're not all going to be the same size. So let's look at our main home solar system. Now, everybody's main home is going to be different. And when we go into another episode of building our buildings, you're going to find out I am a big fan of the monolithic dome. You'll understand that in another episode. Right now, we're going to talk about our main home solar system, okay? Our main home. The load is going to be HVAC, but the HVAC isn't going to be that bad, okay? Because we're going to utilize a lot of thermal mass. So when I say HVAC, don't think huge. We're going to have it as a load in the kitchen because you need power for a dishwasher because, honey, I ain't living without one. You're going to get your lighting, your electronics, your well pump, the whole nine. So you're going to have a ground mount solar array, and it's going to be mounted steel and concrete, okay? And you're going to size it to the size of your home. So if I have a dome that is 2-bedroom with a basement in it, of course, well, I'm not going to have an enormous array. It's going to be good size. But then if I have a huge family compound and I've got 9 bedrooms, so you're going to size it, okay? Your battery bank is going to be for 3 to 5 days autonomy for critical home loads. Honestly, I would go for 7 days because, I mean, sometimes the weather just craps on us. Now, the inverter is going to be a whole home off-grid inverter, split phase. Okay, so you want it 240, 120. And you remember, you're going to have your below-grade battery vault. Now, the battery vault can, like I said, be in a tornado-safe room under your house, just like you'd go get into, or attached. Either way, you want it there. And you want it tornado-safe. Because I don't care where you are, a nadir can hit you. Now, we are going to power our chicken coop and our rabbit hutch and any other livestock you may have. I've chosen the tiny livestock because it's just easier to manage and you still get all the num-nums. Okay? So you're going to treat your chicken coop and your rabbit hutch. You're going to treat it as one small but extremely critical system. So you're going to be loading on LED lighting, ventilation fans, auto doors, because your chickens do like to come in and out on their own. You're definitely going to have cameras. You're going to have a very small heating and cooling system in there, just because if you've ever seen a chicken with frostbite on its footsie, I promise you never want to see it again. The rabbits, of course, are wearing rabbit fur. They're fine. Now, the system is going to be a small ground mount solar array, steel and concrete. It's going to be just as strong as the others, just smaller. You're going to have a battery bank for enough for your animal care load. Okay, so 2 to 3 days, really, because you can manually do all of that. You just can. And you're going to have that smaller off-grid inverter, probably 120. It's just going to have a dedicated sub panel. And you will have that small reinforced concrete room below grade in between the coop and the hutch, just because you want it tornado safe. That's a big thing. You always want to have that. You want to have it storm safe. Now let's look at our barn, because our barn is huge. Our barn is huge. It's going to be huge. So it's going to have a meat processing room with a walk-in freezer, because we will be hunting. We will be buying a whole cow. We will be doing all these things. We'll be bartering with neighbors. We need the freezer. We're also going to have a large canning room. And those take a little power. We need it. So it's going to have a large load. It's going to need a heavy duty system. So we're going to want a pretty substantial ground mount solar array, strong like bull, just like for the house. We're going to want a battery bank. I'm going for the 7-day thing as a critical barn load. I'm going for the 7-day thing. 240-volt, of course. Needs to have capability for the compressors, the large equipment. Definitely getting separate circuits for the freezer. That's our highest priority too, guys, by the way. Our freezer is our highest priority. That is holding our num-nums, and we want our num-nums. Again, our batteries are in the reinforced concrete vault. That is non-negotiable for all of our buildings. So what about our storage building? You're going to have that, because you're going to want to store your tools. You're going to want to store spare parts. You might have equipment in there, like a log splitter. You might have a Homestead lumber mill. I mean, you could have all kinds of things in that storage building. So you're going to want the load to handle the lighting, the tools, probably a dehumidifier, some kind of climate control. Dehumidifier is definitely best, considering that our dream build at this time is in Missouri. So it's going to be a pretty modest ground mount. You could do a roof mount, but again, you really want it rooted in there. So I would go ground mount in concrete, modest to large. I would definitely have a 2 to 3 day battery bank. I would definitely have a 2 to 3 day battery for that one. A solid, even if it's small, off-grid inverter, dedicated sub panel. And definitely have that below grade vault for my batteries, as with all the other ones. Now, around our dream homestead, we're going to have some other outbuildings. We're going to have all kinds of outbuildings, because every second of it, we're not going to want to be, hoofing it all over the place to just grab something for that particular area. So we'll have some other outbuildings. They'll all be a lot smaller. They'll probably just be like holding feed or holding seed, what have you. So for each of those, it'll just be kind of a smaller system on its own. It'll do the lighting, the outlets, any special equipment that's in there. You'll just size it, to what you need in that particular area. 2 to 3 days autonomy. You'll get the right size off-grid inverter for whatever you got going on, and your individual vaults. But remember, we back up everything, and we back up our backups, and then we back it up again. So let's talk about a hybrid pattern. So for each building, your home, your coop, your hutch, your barn, your storage, all your outbuildings, all the things, you're going to have your existing solar with your lithium iron phosphate batteries, your inverter, tornado resistant vault room, blah, blah, blah. But we're going to back that up. So let's back that up with a small wind turbine tied into the same battery bank and the same inverter, and a propane generator depending on the size of the building. I also have 2 other backups. We're not going to talk about those till the very end, because I really need to look into those further. But our wind turbine. Okay, so we'll get a small horizontal axis wind turbine on a tower. Now, we can also get the helical vertical axis sculptures We'll talk about that later. Now we're going to pick a turbine whose rated power matches roughly 50% of the solar array size. We're not counting on the wind, it's a backup. But the voltage does need to match the battery system voltage. I know this all sounds weird, but I promise you the math does math. It all maths. Makes me giddy. I just want to giggle. Ooh. Now, we're going to talk about the wind ties into it, okay? So for each building, our solar side stays as is. Our wind side has a wind charge controller. Same as the battery bank, it has an inverter, which is already there. It's already serving the building's needs. So our solar will handle most of our daytime, year-round energy. Our wind will keep our batteries charging at night, in the winter, cloudy stretches, what have you. However, you cannot make a wind turbine tower tornado proof. But you can make it fail gracefully. You can make it fail to the point of repairable, or at least try. You can get a tilt down tower. It'll have a hinged base, or you can have a guide out lattice tower. Either way, those are pretty easily repairable. So in severe weather, on the hinged tower, you could just tilt it down, hook it into the ground anchors, and be happy with it. Just make sure it's away from your things, away from trees, major turbulence. You don't want it, like, if the wind does take it out, you don't want it taking out everything around it. Now, the battery vaults you already planned stay, and they're in your tornado resistant core, so you're good to go there. Now, per building, you're already going to have your solar array size. So you're just going to kind of want to go 50% of that. You're going to want your wind goal to cover a chunk of what could be your worst month deficit. So, like your cloudy winter, your long storms, whatever. Another backup is going to be our subterranean propane generators. Now, there is another propane option. Again, I need to look into it further, so that'll be at the end. But that is going to be hidden completely underground, zero surface footprint. It's going to be reinforced underground in a concrete vault, immune to tornadoes. Yay. Okay, you always want that. But remember, propane generators eat propane. They eat it. And so that is your kind of like the final boss of backups. And the propane generators, they're all going to be manual, except for the house and barn. Those are going to auto sense a power outage, and they'll turn on and refuel the battery bank, and then they'll auto off when power is restored to the infrastructure. All of the other structures on your property are going to be manual. Okay, you're not going to worry about auto on and off with those. Those can all be manual. Your house and your barn are non-negotiable. Remember, that's where your freezer is. I'm going to lose my num-nums to nobody. But we need to look at those cold, long winter nights. Okay? And days, they're cold. I don't like to be cold. I don't. Now, propane heating is going to be an obvious choice, and it's going to be integrated into the home, but as a backup. Propane heating will not be our primary source. Remember, we want to save our propane. May need to run our generator. So we're going to have a wood stove for our home heating, and get this, get you a wood cook stove in your kitchen too. Yeah, you have your propane stove, of course, your oven, your all that. Some of these wood cook stoves are so amazing. Just trust me, we're getting both. Money's no object, we're getting both. So there are things that I look for in a wood stove. Okay, it needs to be highly efficient, low creosote. I am not looking at cleaning that stovepipe a bunch of times. I'm just not. I want it to have long life. I want it to hold heat, long burns, low fuel. I do want it to have an optional fan, so that if I do want to plug it in, let the fan blow heat out, I can. I don't have to, kind of thing. I want it to be able to heat a large home if I have a large home. Um, it just depends on the size of your compound. You want it to have a top tier burn time. Okay. I would look for anywhere from 12 to 30 hours. I don't want to get up every 4 hours and load the stove. No, thank you. It needs to have a large firebox. Who wants to put in twigs and kindling? No, I want to put a log in that puppy. It needs to have a flat topped surface, okay? Because if I have a wood cook stove in the kitchen, that's all well and good. Maybe I want a giant pot of water on my central wood stove. When you're doing wood heating, you want a pot of water constantly going. It will dry that air out, and I promise you'll know all about it. Now, I have my top choice in wood stoves, and it's non-negotiable for me. For me. It's the Blaze King Ultra. Okay. Oh, that wood stove. Oh, my Lanta. It is so good. Okay, I'll tell you why it's perfect. It's so perfect, and I'll tell you why. It has the longest burn time, I crap you not, of any residential stove on earth. It does. It's beautiful. It can burn up to 40 flipping hours. 40. Count them. Has a 4.3 cubic foot box. Yes, please. It can heat 3,000 plus square feet, but remember, when you get your stove, please pay attention to the square footage it heats, because I'm telling you, it matters. Just because you get a gigantic stove for a tiny place, that's not going to do better things for you. Okay? It's not. Just get the appropriate stove. Trust me on this. You get the bigger, you're going to end up opening your windows, and that's going to end up bringing air in. You're going to end up pulling smoke in. It's not okay. Don't do that. You want the Blaze King is catalytic. It's made of steel. It's the king. It sips wood. It doesn't eat it. It sips it. And it holds heat for freaking ever. Okay. So let's kind of put a plan around the Blaze King. And let's talk about your wood stove placement. All these things are important. So I know we haven't built our main home yet, and that's fine. All we're doing is putting together our plan for our heating. Okay. We're going to want that wood stove to go centrally in the open concept zone. Open concept's important here because you want the heat flowing around. So it's going to be on the ground floor, geometric center. It's going to have a straight vertical chimney. It's not going to have all the elbows and all the business, okay? It just makes it harder to clean. That's just a fact. It just does. You want the smoke just going right up there. You're going to get 3 to 4 foot of open space for kind of the radiant spread, and a stone or a tile hearth, and have that extend about 2 feet out. I prefer 2.5 to 3 feet, honestly. I mean, it's just me. That's my preference. Money's no object. Get all the tile or stone you want. I prefer stone. That's just me. Now, Blaze King is a low flame, long burn catalytic stove. So the airflow is about moving the heat, not blasting the heat. So have ceiling fans. Absolutely have ceiling fans. They take up next to no power. Have them on the winter reverse, on a low speed, pulling the air up. You're going to open all your doorways, allow the convection into the bedrooms. You can even get these fans that kind of go through the wall, and it's a transfer fan, and it'll push warm air into more distant rooms. Or get you a pedestal fan. Who cares? Get something. You can get heat activated, heat powered fans and just set them on top of the wood stove. It'll still make the air go. Now, I'm going to tell you why it works, okay? Because Blaze King produces a really steady and even heat. It doesn't spike heat. It's slow convection, gentle movement, whole home warmth. You're not going to have hot and cold zones unless it's your own fault you have them. So just don't have them. So now our home already has solar and wind, has the battery vault, has the propane generator. Now, how the Blaze King heating plan fits into all that is that in the winter, our Blaze King is going to be our primary heat source. Remember, we have hundreds of acres, and a lot of that is hardwood. We will have, I'm sorry, we haven't even done that episode yet, but a wood splitter and everything. We are okay. Our propane is going to be backup. It's going to be for temperature leveling, humidity control, things like that. Now, our solar wind, and our batteries, it's going to run fans, it's going to have circulation. And later on, I'll talk to you about the geothermal that I need to look into more. So it's going to perform well. It's going to have 30, 40-hour burn time on hardwood. It'll do 3,000 square foot easily. You can get a smaller one if you have a smaller homestead. And please do, because if you don't, you'll regret it. So it is perfect for grid down scenarios. Now, in our case, it wouldn't be grid down. It would be no grid, our grid, okay? So just to go over this particular setup and to add a couple of other backups that I want to look into further, our primary power source is going to be our solar. The preference would be the retractable bifacial class 4 glass arrays. We want it placed on gentle south-facing slopes because we want that maximum sun in the winter. Now, what I'd like to have is a manual hydraulic flip that will lock them face down into concrete bays if there's ever like big hail, a big storm, a tornado. So let's talk about backup number 1. We could get the helical vertical access sculpture windmills. We could get the horizontal access turbines. Either way, it's going to be mounted to leverage the compressed wind. The aerodynamic design will naturally shed high wind loads. It'll still give us power. Our backup number 2 would be our subterranean propane generators and micro turbines. We'll look into that. But it's hidden completely underground, zero surface print. It's reinforced concrete vault. It's immune to tornadoes, really. And tornadoes are a big deal in most of the country. So then we're going to have backup number 3. And that's one that I would look into a little more. Just because all the digging, we already have a lot of digging. We already have a lot of things underground. We already have a lot going on. So I would look into this further. And that is a deep well, closed loop geothermal. So what that is like a vertical borehole, and it's drilled really deep into the hill. So it has zero surface exposure, which is great. And it does reduce your overall electrical load by 70% or more. And that's great. It's just, we already have so much going on under our ground. So I would really look into that. Do I want more boreholes? Or can I go without it because I already have backups? I don't know. Now, there's another backup that I would look into a little deeper. And that would be a biomass backup. That would be a hardwood wood gasifier system, okay? Not a wood stove. It's a wood gasifier. So it's basically your outdoor wood thing. It would utilize that Ozark timber, our oaks, our hickories. It would be self-contained fuel, and it would definitely give us that independence if our propane was depleted. I do like them. And they're coming out with some really super efficient ones. I would want to look into that more because there are a lot of people, they have pros and cons to them. And for some people, like the newer ones just aren't quite cutting it like the older ones did, but the older ones are eating more wood. It's all really up in the air right now for those. I personally, I would let kind of all that gasifier drama play out before I got too deep into it. So our storage for our grid. And it's the last part of this, I promise. I won't bore you further. It is our subgrade battery vault and our ring bus. Okay, that is like the key to all of this. It's all going to be located in climate controlled basement vaults. And when I say climate controlled, I mean that because when you dig down below the frost line in the Ozark area of Missouri, the ground temperature state year round is a steady 55 degrees. It is perfection for all of this. We're going to have deep buried conduits immune to the uprooted trees, or I don't know, a crater. Who knows what's going to happen? But it'll be immune to that because they're going to be deeply buried. And that's our power because money is no object. And if we got to spend $1 million on it, we do. But that's it. That's our power plan. And I hope I didn't bore you too much. These kind of things just make me giddy. It's exciting to me. So I think next time, episode 4, we're going to look at structures. Okay, now mainly we're going to look at our home structure, probably our barn structure. There're going to be a lot of structures on our homestead. So I'm thinking it may take 2 episodes to do. I'll kind of decide that later. I can't decide that right now. So it might take 2 episodes to do. I'm not entirely sure. But I do know that episode 4 will be our home structure and our barn structure. Because those are the 2 that are going to have automated generator start. They're going to have primary importance over everything else because of this, what is contained in them, life and life sustaining things. So those 2 are going to be our primary. If they end up being easy to do, which they won't, we'll do more. If it has to be a second episode, our animal structures will be after that. That's going to be episode 4. I hope you'll join me, and I hope you have a great day. That's all I got for now. Have a good one. Bye-bye.